Do you ever feel stuck in the rat race? Life doesn't have to be that way if you're willing to put in the work. In Bigger Vision, Chris Garrison helps you discover the keys to abundance, freedom, and personal growth that let you live the life of your dreams. And now, here's your host, Chris Garrison.
Welcome, everybody. You've made it to the Bigger Vision podcast. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If I sound a little hoarse, it's because I am dealing with a sinus infection the last few days. Went and got my second shot to kind of knock me out of this crud. But you know what? You got to do whatever it takes to get the job done. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, because as an entrepreneur, as a goal setter, even if you don't own your own business, hopefully you've got big vision, big goals out there, and it's going to take some sacrifice. It's not easy every single day. It's not rainbows and unicorns. Some day you feel like you're king of the hill sitting on top of the mountain. Other days you're wondering if you're going to survive. And it really is an emotional roller coaster if you don't get acclimated to it, if you don't go through it a few times and realize it's just a part of the journey. I just came back from a mastermind with buddy Chris Rude, and he told his story of his entrepreneurial journey, how he is just running, taking off down to races, starting to build income, starting to build team, smack. He gets just wiped out almost. And then he starts running again and kind of recalculates and gets real distinctive on where he's going and makes another few years of a good run. And then smack, hurricane comes through and wipes out all of his customers because he was so heavily on the oil field there as a customer base with his oil lube company. And the reason I tell you the story and the reason he told that story is because the simple fact that you can't always predict the future. You can't always keep hardship from happening, but hardship it's a gift. When you go through hard things, it really is a gift because it hardens you. It builds you up. It allows you to get muscle memory so that you will be able to weather the storm when it comes next time. You will be much better off. It shakes out the weak hands. When the market makes a correction, it is shaking the weak hands off. That's why capitalism is so great. It was meant for those that did not prepare well enough, those that were not set and had a strong foundation built. Those people were to be shaken out and give new opportunity for those that were hungry and destined for success. If you listen to any successful entrepreneur, even anyone that's been successful in life, and they've done it over a 10 to 15 year period, they're going to have trial and tribulation stories. So go ahead and get it set in yourself if you're a newer entrepreneur, if you're a newer dreamer, if you're a newer goal setter, if you are a newer person to the race of life and financial freedom and lifestyle freedom, because it's going to happen. So the question is your why big enough? And are you willing to do whatever it takes to push through? I'm going to give you a good example and be real transparent with you about my situation at the moment. So I jumped into the disaster cleanup company, and I was doubling revenue every single year. I mean, it was just massive growth, super exciting growth. And we were just pushing through. And I was very plugged in. I started solopreneur. It was me and another person on the service vehicle going out and servicing night and day jobs. And then I began to grow a team. And then I started moving up in the ranks of my company, up my organizational chart into those more leadership positions. And then I got to the point to where I had teams built that were running pretty good, and I wasn't having to micromanage every single job. Did I have fires that I had to put out? Absolutely, because mistakes do get made when you're not overseeing them close enough. But I got distracted from cleaning business into real estate. And after studying and really applying a bunch of time towards the real estate, I began to move and operate into that space. And then I started noticing how my revenue had leveled off. And then all of a sudden this year it dropped. And I've got a high overhead at this point because I've got multiple service vehicles. I've got a really nice building that we rent from a real estate company now. I've got nice office staff that front loads our customers and gives them a great impression on the front end. I pay higher rates to my field staff now because I want to attract and I want to be a place that they love to come and show up to and give them their best, give their best to the company so that they can take home a nice check to their family and provide a nice lifestyle. I'm definitely a believer in you get paid for what you bring to the table and value. And I looked at the beginning of the year and I realized that we were dropping in revenue and I still had a large nut to cover in overhead. And so I started pulling back and applying more of my time. And I realized that I never replaced myself as an operations manager and I never replaced myself as a sales manager. So I went and hired and really reached out. Really, if you were looking at the books, you would say, Chris, you couldn't afford it, but I couldn't afford not to make the investment into the company. And this is what you've got to realize in life, that there's many times where you may not have the affordability, but you have to say, I can't afford not to. So you do whatever it takes. If it means you have to go eat Vienna weenies and ramen noodles, whatever it takes. Because if you've got a dream, you got to fight for it. No one else is going to fight for that dream. If you're not willing to fight for it, definitely no one else is going to fight for that dream. And I'm not a quitter. I'm not one of those that starts the race and then walks away. I'm not saying every race that you start, you should finish, because some races are a waste of time. That's why you need to do your due diligence and make sure that it is the vehicle that's going to take you to the goals and dreams of success that you have in your life. But if you start and you know that you're in the right vehicle, don't be a quitter, because you're going to hate yourself for quitting. And every time you quit, you rack up this loss that really plays just a multitude of weight on you. And it is important that we keep ourselves in the game running. I do know that anytime that I'm struggling, if I lay down, it makes it worse because my mental game just gets so crazy to play. But if I will keep movement, if I will keep action going, then my mind will begin to fight stronger. And it's easier to overcome those negative thoughts. So when you find yourself in the midst of the storm, when you find resistance hitting you, when you see that things aren't going the way that you anticipated and that you wanted, when all of the good is starting to disappear, you start moving and you start taking action. You take imperfect action. Sometimes we sit around and we just try to plan way too much, and then we end up sitting in analysis paralysis situation, to where we've got all of these analytics and we've got so much analytical thought going on that we don't even know what direction to move. But if you'll take imperfect action and just begin to move towards the goal, even though you may not see it clearly, and you might be stepping in mud and shit and everything else, and then until you get on the path of concrete to where you're not walking in a bunch of crap, whatever it is, just take action, because your mind needs you to be taking action. Make sure that you're changing that environment to help you through these periods of time. So if you're going to wake up in the morning and you got a time to wake up, give yourself plenty of time to wake up so that you're not in a rush and you don't start your day off wrong. If you're having trouble getting out of the bed, set that alarm clock across the room so you have to get out of bed to go turn the alarm off. But you've got to set yourself up for success, and you've got to know that it's going to be worth it. You've got to put an environment that's going to keep you encouraged so you keep pushing. So I've just had to take a seat back from where I feel like I should be, because in reality, things started breaking. I didn't have my foundation built in my cleaning business the way it needed to be, because I didn't have that operations. I didn't have that sales plugged in. And then what happened is I also didn't have accountability plugged in with my team. And I had lost some really key players. And over a period of a year or two, they began to move out of their standard operating process. So they were moving in directions that was going to deplenish the quality of work that we were known to provide in the marketplace. I just today said, hey, you know what? I'm jumping back into the field. I'm going to put everything back on the back burner. My real estate game is kind of autopilot. I've got some stuff going on there. Will it grow as quickly as it's been growing? Probably not, because my attention is going to pull from it. And I don't have those drivers built into that business yet. But that's okay, because this business, my cleaning business, is what provides my lifestyle right now. It's what allows me to go and train up. It's what allows me to provide the nice house and not have to budget myself. It is what provides my lifestyle. So what do? I pull back and I said, hey, I'm back in the field. Let's fix this stuff. That is an ego. It plays with my ego, to be real about it. The fact that I have to go back down into the field and do tasks that I know that are lower paid task compared to some of the other tasks I've been doing in the last year with a higher pay. But until I can get this thing in order, I'm going to have to do that. So what's happening is I don't have anybody to go out and train the methods and the processes to the standard that I expect us to conduct ourselves in the marketplace. So I'm plugging in and I'm going in as a trainer. I'm also going in as someone to make sure that we've got our processes the way they should be. But I will not have to do this again. The reason why is because I'm going to document what we're doing. We've already got SOPs, standard operating processes documented, but we don't have video of in-field work being done. So we're going to go through this and I'm going to get the rustiness out of myself and I'm going to process a couple of jobs and then I'm going to have my assistant come in and film. And if you don't have an assistant, you get one of your team members to sit there and film you. And then you're going to sit there and take that video and you're going to chop it up. And as I'm moving through, I'm going to be communicating at an extremely high level. When I walk into the house, I'm saying, hey, here's how I'm walking into the house to my team. This is why I'm walking this direction. This is what I'm looking at as I'm moving through the facility. As we're doing our demolition on non-salvageable items, I'm going to sit there and explain what I'm looking at as I'm moving through that house, what I am noticing that needs to be done. This is getting caught on camera and it's also being told to my team members so that they can understand how to be better leaders. Because you might know the skill set, but if you don't have the leadership qualities, then you're not going to be able to dictate that to a team. You're going to be over here just drilling away at your task, and then you're going to have a team standing behind you, and it'll look like the road crew. One guy over here digging the ditch, and the rest of them watching them dig the ditch. And it's extremely inefficient. And I can't stand inefficiency, and you shouldn't stand it either. So having said all of this, today I've really been dwelling about the fact that, there's a sacrifice everywhere in life. No matter what you choose to do, something is going to be sacrificed so that you're able to do that. And as you start off, if you are an inspiring entrepreneur, if you are a startup, if you're purchasing a company that needs to be turned around, if you're purchasing a company that's already flowing well, but you also are going to be interjecting some things to scale it so that maybe you can add value through the scale and then be able to take it back to the marketplace and sell for a large upside. Whatever the case is, there is always sacrifice to every decision that you make. If you choose to stay up and grind it, you're sacrificing sleep. And I had this conversation with my wife. I said, hey, I'm going to have to plug back in. And she said, you know what that's going to do to the family quality of life? And I had to sit there and say, it's either that or we're going to see some bad times in the business. And I've got to plug back in because I slacked up and I didn't have my foundation built the way I should have before I unplugged and started chasing real estate. Do I regret that decision? I regret not having the foundation built. I don't regret chasing real estate because it was a great wealth move for me, but I still didn't have it where it needed to be. And the whole point of that is not to beat myself up, but it's to say, hey, hard times do come. Whether it's your fault or not, whether it's controllable or not. And when they come, what you have to do is step back and say, what are the controllables? What can I do and control right now to change the trajectory that I'm moving in at the moment? Don't whine about it. Don't sit there in self-pity. Don't sit there in the blame game. You take full responsibility of everything that's going on in your life. And you then take those areas that you can sit there and control, and you begin to put action in those areas so that you can change your destiny and hit your goals, hit your vision, make your dreams. If you don't hit your visions and dreams, it's only your fault. It's because you didn't have the grit and the desire and the passion and the hunger to push through any obstacle so that you can make it to where you were supposed to be, the finish line. And I'm going to tell you what, the finish line constantly moves. Because if you're performance driven, and I know you are if you're listening to this, I know if you've got a bigger vision, you're listening to this, and you're listening to this, you are performance driven. And as soon as you hit that, there's going to be something else that you want more. So get real clear on the sacrifices that you're going to have, because it's not only you that are sacrificing, it's the people around you that care to spend time with you. Those people are also going to have sacrifices because you're sacrificing your time with them. It's real, guys. It is real. The journey, the path is real. But here's the flip side. You got to choose your heart. Yeah, there's sacrifices in reaching high goals and achievements. But there's also sacrifices when you don't go after big goals and achievements, when you sit there and you're okay with just having the mediocre job, with never leveling up and training yourself and learning new skill sets, with never putting in the extra time, because now you're restricted to budgets. Now you're restricted to someone else dictating your life. Now you're restricted to someone else's knowledge and you not understanding and having to lean on someone else to tell you how to do something. So what hard do you want? Because there's the sacrifice on the flip side. And I've tasted some success. And I'm going to tell you, the sacrifice on the success side is way better. It's just like going to the gym. Man, it's a bitch when you go to the gym and you hurt for the first week, or when you just don't feel like getting up because you've been working and you're tired and you don't feel like getting and pushing yourself out of bed and going and putting in those first few reps, or even it's a grind through the whole workout. But when you get to start seeing transformation in your body and you get to feel the energy after the workout, I'll be dead after my workout. But 15, 20 minutes later, my body just rejuvenates and I'm like, oh, I'm on fire. I'm ready to just run through a brick wall. I'm able to take my day by the horns and drag it in whatever direction I want. It's like that in everything in life. So it takes a lot. It takes a lot. Don't mistake yourself. Don't cry about it. Man up and move towards your goals, because your future self, your family, your friends, those people you don't even know that's watching you, they're dependent on you making success in your efforts, on you putting in the work and making those achievements, because they need to borrow the belief that they can do it as well. And when they've got an example of someone that they can go mimic, then they're able to push and believe as well when resistance comes against them, when the hurricanes knock out all of your customers, like my friend Chris Rude had on his lube business, when your teams loses all of their standard operating processes and they begin to make a bunch of mistakes and you have to jump back in the grind of the day to day. Whatever it is, it's worth it. Because you know what? I'm going to get my team set up and I've got my operations manager and my sales guy going. I'm going to get my field time in there 3, 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it takes. And I'm going to get these documented so that I can onboard better for new hires and get them into a better training program. And I won't have to do this again because I'm intentional about what I'm doing now. I'm intentional because I understand what can happen when you don't have the foundation set up the way it needs to be set up. I'm intentional on what I'm needing in the future so that I can avoid having to do this again. So, what are you intentional about? Where is your focus? Find out what your root cause is. For me, I didn't have training. My onboarding process sucks. And when they get out into the field, they didn't have leaders to train them well. Second thing is, I had no accountability. So, nobody was really being told and required to follow the processes. So, they knew they weren't being watched. Therefore, they gradually pulled away from it. And we're all guilty of that in our own areas of life. When accountability is not there, it's easy to move away. And those are the two main things that I've got to go in and fix now. I've got to pick the shovel back up and start to dig so that I can get back working on higher levels later. And as soon as I can get these leadership roles in place, I'll be able to move back up and focus on higher levels. Am I doing it the way it needs to be done? I don't know. But am I doing it the way that I feel like is the only way to do it at the moment? Am I taking action? Is it imperfect action? Probably, but I'm taking action. And that's what I want you to take away from this podcast today. Take action, even if it's imperfect action, and understand the sacrifices that it's going to take. And you're going to make the sacrifices now or you're going to make them later. It's one or the other. And if you don't make the sacrifices for your goals, then you're going to be sacrificing the freedom that you would have had if you would have just put in the effort and leaned into the resistance and had your face set like flint and said, whatever it's going to take, that's what I'm going to do, because I've got a destiny and a purpose in life. And I do not want to get at the end of my life and see my perfect self. I don't want to see my perfect self and I look like an ugly duckling next to it or someone that's unrecognizable. Because at the end of my life, when I view my perfect self, I want to be almost an exact twin image of it. Do you understand what that is? You've got a purpose. You've got a destiny. You've got a perfect self of you, and you will get the opportunity to see that at the end of your life. And will you be disappointed or will you be happy with your efforts and what you've grown into? And you will have complete control of that. It's not what you were born into. It's not your education. It's not your disabilities. It's not your pedigree. It's nothing like that. There are success stories, rag to riches all over. The question is, are you going to put the sacrifice and the effort and take the imperfect action so that you can reach your perfect self? Or are you going to do like the majority and make excuses? Because if you're listening to this, you're not the majority. If you're listening to this podcast, you're hungry and you know that there's more purpose in your life. You feel it deep down in your gut. And deep down in your gut is crying and begging you to keep pushing, to keep making the sacrifices, because the sacrifices do get easier. They become different. In the beginning, it's a big sacrifice. It takes a lot of time. But what happens when you start to generate revenue from that time sacrifice? You begin to be able to buy back your time by scaling, and you're offering opportunities to others when you begin to scale and build a team. This is how you buy your time back. You build teams. I hope you guys live in success. I appreciate you guys listening to this podcast. If you don't mind doing something for me, please hop on whatever platform you're listening to this on and give me a 5-star review. Post something in the comments that you liked or disliked about this, and share this with your friends and family as well. If you think someone's looking to grow in life, if you think someone is wanting to know more about entrepreneurship, about just getting a bigger vision, fixing their mindset, learning how to invest, trying to create more wealth so that they can have a legacy that gets passed down to their family, then please share this and let them begin to take in this information. Me consuming information from podcasts and videos like this right here has completely changed my life, and I hope it changes your life as well. Until next time, let's live in success. Let's grow.
This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.